Do you know if your team members are truly aligned with your company culture? In today's competitive job market, understanding whether a candidate fits your firm's culture is just as important as their skill set. In this episode, we'll dive into how the Predictive Index culture assessments can transform your hiring process and help you build cohesive, high performing teams. Welcome back to the Sterling Family Law Show, your go-to resource for family law firm owners who are looking to optimize the operations of their firm and boost profitability. I am your host, Tyler Dolph. I'm also the CEO of our law firm-only marketing agency called Rocket Clicks that was born out of our own family law firm called Sterling Lawyers that has grown to over 27 attorneys. Today, I am joined with the co-founder of our law firm, Sterling Lawyers, Tony Carls. He's also the president of Rocket Clicks, as well as JP Vanderlinden, who heads up our people operations department. Today, we're going to explore how the Predictive Index culture assessment can help you determine if a candidate is a great cultural fit for your firm. We're going to break down the science behind the tool, why you need to use it both in the hiring process as well as your existing team members and teammates so that you can improve the hiring of new team members as well as the retention of current team members. I really hope you enjoy it. All right, gentlemen, we are back and we are talking about hiring. We are talking about personality tests. We leverage the PI test here at Rocket Clicks and as well as at Sterling Lawyers. But JP, I want to come to you first. Why would an organization even want to use something like this in the first place?
Yeah, I mean the short version here is uh, hiring done wrong costs your company a lot of money. It costs a lot of time, a lot of energy, which ultimately just detracts from your ability to do great work. Um, and there's nothing worse than like bringing that person on, being so excited for them. You get 3, 6, 9 months in, and you're like, I got to go do all that over again, and I just lost those 2, 3 quarters. So getting ahead of it, being intentional with your process, and knowing what to look for is incredibly important for choosing the right team members and building effective teams.
Yeah, 100%. I think anyone can be anyone they want for an hour or two during an interview, but the more you can understand and find out who they actually are, the better chances you have to make the right hire. So I mentioned we use PI. Tony, tell us what the heck PI is and what it does.
Yeah, it's a assessment we use in the hiring process that, and there's a lot of different ones. So before I answer kind of the PI question, DISC R3 is one, Culture Index is one, Predictive Index is the one we use. Um, it's it's really a tool to help guide your interviewing and decision making process because it's going to predict behaviors of a person, and it will arm you with really good questions to ask someone in the interview process, as well as give you a sense of if this is a really detail oriented job, is this a detail oriented type of person, if is this a job, is the job I'm posting for, do they need more independence and self drive because I'm building a new department or building a new team, and like that's this first person I'm hiring needs to look more like that. So it really helps you identify like what their particular tendencies might look like. It shouldn't be used as a Bible in terms of like, if it says this, then X. So this isn't a pass fail, but it is a directionally accurate and very informative piece of information as it pertains to making hiring decisions. So when we went through and got trained and certified on PI, the way that we were taught is it should make up about 33% of your decision making. So it should give you a whole bunch of information to ask questions and dig deeper, both in terms of how they work and how they interact with the team. But it should not be 100% of what you do. It shouldn't be 100% of your decision making process. So if you're using it like that, you're probably using it wrong. As it pertains to family law, I'll just talk to the attorney side. There are profiles we look for. So, one of them that is important is as you're starting a firm, or you're starting a new branch or metro area that you want to dominate, there's a certain type of attorney that you're going to want to hire there. Because they're building. They are your first builder. So they're going to need to be more independent. And they're going to need to be someone that can sell future hires as well as clients into the firm. So they're going to be they're typically going to come from the analytical profile section. So analyzers, controllers, strategists are typically what we look for in that role. All three of our or all four of our branches that we opened, we found this out by experience. We didn't know it beforehand, but there's a big difference between the first person that you hire and everybody else that you hire on the team. And where we saw success is when we put those types of roles in first. It went really, really well. When we started with the kind of the roles that would come after, which are more your stabilizing type roles, so they're going to work better with teams. They're more collaborative, and they're gonna mother hen the heck out of your clients and love on them like you've never like you've always wanted. So like the altruist is kind of the ideal profile, but there's a whole bunch of profiles that are in the social styles that are basically they lean to collaboration versus independence. They lean to social ability versus introversion, and they're very detail oriented people that can work with multiple things at a time. So those types of folks they're wired very differently than the first section, and like building with one of those people, you're going to struggle in the consultation room at the beginning because you don't have anybody feeding them clients. Those people can get good at the consultation room, but it takes more effort because that's not what their strengths are. So there's some particular things that we look for as it pertains to how we do recruiting, specifically for attorneys, and like what are we hiring for? Is this someone that needs to lead and grow and build a team or department or branch, or is this someone that I need to bring in that's going to love on clients and help improve the overall reputation and balance of the firm?
So if I'm listening to this and I'm a firm owner, step one, use a personality test. We've tried a lot of them, and we prefer the PI test, but that doesn't mean that others aren't great too. So explore those. JP, talk to us about the logistically. How do we leverage it? Do we wait till the final interview? Do we do it right away? When do we actually use our PI test?
So we actually use it super early in the process, and it's a twofold process. So the first is literally in the first like days after somebody applies, and we've validated that they generally kind of pass the sniff test, right? From like a resume application standpoint, there's nothing glaring there. After they pass that, like we're going to get this to them really fast. And there's the first thing is, do you do it? Which seems like table stakes, but a number of people, you'll send them the assessment and then they won't do it, or they won't do it promptly. We literally require the test to be done within 48 hours because if you're serious about working here, that should be zero problem for you. It's a 15-minute test. You can't find 15 minutes in 2 days. You don't actually want this job. You don't actually want to work with us. So that's thing one. You don't do it, or you don't do it promptly.
And what's the drop off rate there, JP? Because it's not like 5%. It's like, I think it's greater than 50% of people that they applied for the job, but they don't really want the job, clearly, because they can't follow directions.
Yeah, there's a number of things we do in there. We're obviously a remote company, and so that has an impact. We have a video component that we use, but the total cumulative impact of that is greater than 50%. I think on the assessment alone, it's close to 25% of folks who don't even take it. They literally just don't respond. 1 to 4 doors are like, work. I don't feel like it. Great. Don't want to work with those folks. There's probably a place they'd be awesome. So that's test one, is literally, do they do it? Can they follow directions? And then thing two, and I love that Tony called this out, is that it's not the Bible, it's directional. And so there's a scale of like how closely they match what we need in the job, which should be tailored to where you are in the process. Do you need someone who's like driven, future oriented, building, gonna like play great in blank space? Or do you need someone who's like gonna follow process, execute, stay within the lines, highly like cool, tailor to that? How closely do they match that? It's like a 10 out of 10 or like a 7 out of 10 are both fine. Like that's enough for it to be like, all right, you're directionally close enough, right? And so like if, as long as you're above like a certain range, so for us it's like 6 or 7 depending on the role, you're going to move forward in the process. If you're below that, what this is really telling us is not that you're a bad person, is not that you're a bad applicant. It's that this role and what we need out of this role counters your natural tendency. And as a result, it's going to take a lot of effort for you to be good in this seat, and there's probably a seat that's better for you or a company stage that's better for you. And so thing one is, do they pass it just from like, do they do the work? Thing two is, directionally, is this a role where we're working with their natural tendencies and strengths and they have a good percentage likelihood of being successful in the seat? So that's kind of logistically how we use it. One other component I'll mention, and this kind of gets to the later phases, is as we're doing later stage interviews, we tailor the questions and the follow-ups and the pressure we apply based on the answers that we get, because these are tendencies. And so if we see that somebody, so there's no right or wrong, right? Are you more precise or are you more flexible? Both are fine. But if I know your tendency, I'm going to pressure into that to find out what's that going to look like when I actually put you in front of my customers, when I actually put you over a team, when I actually put you under pressure. How are you going to respond? And I want to find that out in this process, because I don't want to get 9 months down the line and find out that you crack under pressure when I could have found out here, ooh, yeah, you're probably not a person who I want to like put on the big project with the tight deadline. Like you're not going to shine there. So that's kind of a couple of ways we put it in practice. Two kind of like pass fail portions of like, do they do the work and do they align directionally? And then the third piece of like informing the rest of the process of like, what is their behavioral tendency and how can we push into that?
Yeah, I love the point around leveraging it as a filter. One, are they going to take the test? And then having the results so that you can leverage those results in the final interview to really lean in.
Yeah, I would also add like you'll find times when the match of the person applying and the ideal profile, they're not matched. They're 4 or 5, and in terms of like match closeness, 10 is the highest, 1 is the lowest. Um, the biggest thing that changes a team member's ability to flex into those different roles is typically experience and maturity. So like the more experienced and mature you are, the more self-aware you are of these things, the more you're going to be able to, the more you've been uh, experienced in compensating for something that you may not naturally do well, but you need to do it, so you do it well. So like part of what we're looking for in those questions is like, okay, here's your natural tendency. Tell me about your experience and how you handle these situations, because that's where I can dig in and see like, all right, where's the maturity and experience and self-awareness on the things that are clearly present here, because we all have natural tendencies that we come with. We're all wired a little bit differently, but we all also have experience, and we all have a will and skills that we leverage in our workday. So we can overcome some of our deficiencies. And like part of what we're doing in this process is identifying what those might be and then questioning setting on those in the interview process. So like just trying to hammer home on this is not a pass or fail. This is information to use and leverage so that you can identify whether or not someone will be a good candidate. And like it's also from a team perspective. So I mentioned before certain roles that we want to start with in a firm. Well, if I come across an attorney in an area that I'm trying to grow, but they're not super experienced yet, but they're going to be a killer in terms of getting new clients, but they're not the leader. Okay, great. And then I have a more experienced, person that's going to mother hen the heck out of our clients and make them feel all good. Great. That's the leader, because that individual, she is going to be more prone to lead the team well and put this, young, hungry person that's going to chase deals and sales and bring revenue to the firm in the right position to succeed. And like, so it doesn't have to be like, oh, Tony said this on new hires. No, like it's about ideal. So like you need these different components for the team. How do you put them in a position to be successful is really important. So like if you're starting a new branch, you're going to want someone that looks like that. They might not be your leader though. You might have somebody else who's more experienced and been in the field a really long time, but maybe they don't like sales. Maybe they really don't like the pitching and all of those things. Fantastic. How do you pair these people together so that you can grow your firm?
Do you want to grow your law firm, but you can't predict next month's revenue? Do you hire an attorney without knowing if you can actually afford it? I hear you. We have a planning system that forces us to focus. It's built on these 3 key principles. We are teaching this entire framework in a free 45-minute webinar called the 2026 Annual Planning Live. Let's make next year the one that actually changes everything. Yeah, you said some really great things there. And just as a reminder, like this is not an IQ test, right? I used to joke, people would be like, oh, what profile are you? And I was like, the best one, but there's not a best one. There's not a winner or a loser here. It is all about understanding the unique qualities of these individuals and then placing them in situations for them to be successful.
There is one caveat I will add to that, Tyler. One thing I really like that Predictive Index offers, and some of them do. Again, we're not affiliated, we're not sponsored. There's no link in bio for this. But like one element of Predictive Index I do like is they have a function to it called the cognitive test. And contrary to what you might believe, it's not an IQ test. It is a test of speed to learn new concepts. And again, go back to our first point that Tony made. You need to pick the right person for the stage of the role, not just the role itself. Certain roles have a lot of change, and you need someone in that seat whose ability to consume new information quickly and then like put it back out is very high. And there's some cases where it's like, now we've got this all documented, we've got this all processed, we know how to execute. I don't really need this person to be able to like learn a bunch of new stuff. We're going to be fine. And so like again, tailoring not just behavioral tendencies, but also like learning style tendencies of like, is this person going to be like learns things quick, or is this person like, nah, they're going to need a few reps, they're going to need some time, and like just putting him in a position to win and set your team up for success. So there is that component to it, but like it's not an IQ test. Don't use it the wrong way.
Yeah, and it's a really good predictor of ramp time. Like how long is it going to take this person to ramp and be a contributing person? So like that very much has a lot to do with like where are you from a business perspective in the journey of growth? Because if you have the ability to mentor someone up, you're going to have the advantage of bringing someone in that's going to be cheaper, and you're going to grow them up into what you need. But they need time to do that. So if you have the time, take advantage of that. If you don't have the time, you're likely to need to hire someone that's a little more expensive, that's going to ramp a lot faster, that's going to build for you, create the SOPs, and like do all the things that you need them to do. So you can then pair somebody that's more junior with them as your revenue grows and your overall business enterprise increases in value. So it's really important to think critically about how to leverage these tools, because they're super powerful if you're using them well.
Tony, we talk about all these different qualities and traits. I want you to really speak to the family law owner here. How can they leverage this to build strong teams within a law firm, whether that law firm is opening a new office or simply just trying to enhance the current team they have?
Yeah. So I guess one way I think about it is if you have 12 people on your team, and there's a more highly segmented portion of that group that is the majority, that's going to create behaviors out of that group that are going to kind of stir the culture. So like your ability to see those and mix those together is going to give you a really good opportunity to build a strong team. Because like I mentioned, so like the altruists, for instance, they are very conscious of what they need to do for their clients. They love their clients a ton. So like what that does inside a business is everything that's an issue becomes a huge issue. So what does your leader need to look like? What do the conversations need to look like that you're consistently having, so that molehills don't become mountains, and we're managing these things well. So there's a lot of things patterns that will show up, and you'll be able to see these as your team leverages this, and you'll be able to predict, like, what do I need to do? Where do I need to spend time? Where do I need to communicate clearly over and over and over and over and over again? Just because this is how my team is predisposed and predispositioned. And that, like, it's not a bad thing. It's just, it is a thing. And like, how do we leverage it? So there's a lot of team building and like resources for managers to diagnose how to think about these different things in the tool based on each individual person's specific profile. But then you can also aggregate it together and see, like, what is the overall pattern of my team? And now I know what I can do from a communication and training perspective.
Yeah, to dot the I on that, the first thing you should do, whichever tool you choose, is you should baseline your team. Like, don't start with this on new hires. Start with this on your existing team to understand, what do my high performers look like? What do my stable people look like? What does my team structure look like? What am I missing on my team? Like, I got a big gap over here. I don't even have this represented. What am I overrepresented on? So baselining is really helpful, because then when you try to design your profile for your different roles and you go out in the market, you have a sense of, like, what do I need? What am I missing? What do I want more of? So I would start there, start internally, get a baseline. Also inform your managers. Was a great point, Tony. Like, make sure your team leaders are armed with this information so that they can get the best performance out of your team. This is who you're working with. This is their natural tendency. Here's how you get the best version of them going forward. Gives them great arming. And then you go out into the market and say, okay, now that I've done that, I'm prepared to talk to new potential applicants.
Yeah, I seem to remember we went through an exercise of like whiteboarding. Okay, who are our strongest employees, and for what reasons? And okay, we want more of this type for this reason, and our team is building in this way, so we want to make sure we have this element involved. So I think, JP, that point is so valid, that you have to go through the exercise of who do we have on our team currently, what are their strengths and weaknesses, what are we trying to build towards, and how do those personality profiles integrate into who we want next. JP mentioned this at the beginning, right? Hiring is already expensive, but hiring the wrong person is so much more expensive and takes so much time, right? So, how can we help our audience really understand the cost benefit analysis of leveraging a tool like this?
Yeah. So what you should look for as a result of this is quality of throughput, and you should measure it on a timeline. Meaning, you should measure within the hiring process, as a result of this tool, are you seeing more candidates proceed through deeper into the process? The screening, all the screening you do up front. This is, Tony mentioned this is one piece. All the screening you do up front is designed to increase the likelihood that the person who makes it to the next interview makes it all the way to the end. It's predictive, hence predictive index. It is predictive of the success of this person. And so if it's done right, implemented early, it means, 1 to 1 to 1 in your next 3 steps in the process, which saves everybody time, because we're not having high drop off rates. And so literally everyone, all your hiring managers, your people ops staff, everybody who's doing that should have their time saved. So that's an immediate cost savings from implementing this. The second thing is, post hire, do you see retention of those hires downstream 6 months, 12 months, 18, 24? Are you seeing that we're not having that 12-month oops moment? Shouldn't have brought this person on, missed in the evaluation process. Like, that should drop off, because you're saying, I'm picking the right person for the right stage and the right seat, setting them up for success, and I understand their ramp time. So as a result, keep them longer, and more likely to save time in the process. So it's a double hit on both the hiring cost and reducing the cost of turnover. Because again, you don't just lose the cost of hiring that team member and the salary you paid them, you also lose the time, which oftentimes is more important, because you just cost yourself 12 months of development or 24 months or whatever it is, because you picked the wrong person, poured all that time and energy into them, and now you've got to like redo it. You can't get it back.
Love it. Tony, as we close out here, give us some real life, just data points or examples. How have the use of leveraging, PI, enhanced our retention at the law firm?
I think it has a lot to do with our pairing of who's leading and the team at large, as well as how we pair attorneys with paralegals. So it improves the overall quality of the whole organization from a culture perspective, because we're intentionally trying to match people that have complementary skills. So like where this works really well is if you have a high driving sales oriented who may not be as detail oriented attorney that's bringing a lot of business to the firm, what do we think the paralegal for that attorney should look like? They're probably not a high driving, person that is trying to get sales for the firm that's not detail oriented. They're likely a very team oriented individual that wants to serve and grow a team. They're someone that values relationships, and they're super detail oriented, and they probably have an ability to multitask. Like that's what that person looks like. So now like you've created this amazing team of two people that are now going to perform really, really well in your org because their skills complement each other. Where the attorney might be weak from some of their perspectives, the paralegal can pick that up, and the paralegal, vice versa, can help support the attorney and grow what they need to grow, like grow in the way that they need to grow.
100%. Love it. All right. I want to summarize this for our audience. 1, pick a tool. 2, use that tool on your current team to understand the dynamic of your current team and who you want and who you need. Then use it in the hiring process as a lens for what type of candidate you want and need for that team. And then build your teams around these profiles so that they can work cohesively together. Did I capture that? Whole podcast in one sentence.
There you go. Crushed.
Love it. Gentlemen, appreciate the time as always. Looking forward to seeing you again soon. If you found this episode exciting, wait until our next one. You are going to love our episode on resume screening. We will cover how to sift through all the resumes that you get efficiently and identify top candidates before you even begin the interview process. Make sure to check it out right here.